Hi everyone, Coldam here with another VOX Immortalis commentary guide. This video here is for Thorim, normal mode. Basically I want to outline the tanking tactics, particularly for your protection warrior for the arena part of this video. You won't see anything from the gauntlet portion. We may release another video from that perspective later. But as you can see at the start, we usually have our gauntlet tank, the paladin in this case, grab the worm and make sure you face him away from the rest of the raid, and that will avoid the rest of the raid being poisoned by the conal breath that the worm uses. It's not very deadly, but it will save a fair bit of mana at the start. Otherwise, just group up the mobs and AE them down. One thing to note is that the timer and the ability to open the gate does not start until the final mob of that group dies. So you can CC or sheep one of the mobs if you need to, buy yourself time, regen mana, figure out positioning for the later phases, that kind of thing. At any rate, the arena strategy we use, positioning is pretty important for us. We have all of our ranged and our healers stack up in one spot. As you can see, the green smoke shows where they are, which is sort of to the east of the inner circle. And we found that this works great because they never will be in range of the lightning shock from the pillars by staying there. So as the tank, I'm free to use the rest of the room to aggro mobs, things like that. My basic strategy is to keep track of the spawns. There's a distinct pattern, and once you get used to the pattern as the tank, this becomes a lot easier. The main thing you'll notice is that there's 3 different elite types: Evokers, Warbringers, and Champions. And then the commoners, of course, spawn in packs of non-elites. What you need to notice is that each of the elite types is basically on its own timer. Evokers are the most common, then Warbringers, next most common, and Champions by far least most common. And so what you'll find is you'll get a lot of Evoker spawns, a fair number of Warbringer, not very many Champions. And knowing this, you can kind of prepare. Often you'll get 2 elites in one spawn, and then every once in a while you'll get an elite with a commoner wave. It's also possible to get double elites right here, Champion and Warbringer with the commoner wave. It all just depends on how the spawn timer lines up. That will only happen once or maybe twice, depending how long you take. The important thing is, as a tank, watch for those type of elite mobs within the group. Make sure you can quickly target them. Your DPS should focus on Evokers whenever they're up, just due to their abilities and their protective shield. As a warrior, if you have the Shield Bash Silence talent, that helps a great deal. You can use that on Evokers when they first spawn, and they will be silenced most of their life, pretty much till they're dead. Otherwise, my general tactic is to focus getting the elites quickly before they reach the healer that they inevitably aggro at the start. It appears that the mobs, before they come down, are building up threat for some duration of time. They will always chase the healer initially, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. As a warrior, I use Vigilance on our healer in this fight. Obviously it's not for threat, but it's for the taunt cooldown, and that helps a fair bit. Another tip as a warrior is, since you don't have Consecrate, Death and Decay, that kind of pulsing tick to keep near people, when the commoners spawn in the first phase, if you let them rush toward your healer, and you go toward the center of that location, if you time your Thunderclap well, you can grab them all. And then you backpedal simply, and I usually shoot Shockwave at that point to keep them stunned and let them AE down. But otherwise, that's the basics of that fight. User charges. You can move around a lot at the start. As you see, now we're into phase 2. This is a very, very simple phase, on normal at least. We have both of our tanks stack up on one side. The first tank to get aggro, which is usually the gauntlet tank, since I tend to have mobs most of the time. We'll just tank Thorim until they get a balancing strike, at which point the next tank taunts and takes aggro and takes over tanking. And then they wait for Unbalancing Strike, the previous tank grabs aggro, and so on and so forth. It's important that you have deadly boss mods, bigwigs, some form of indication between your tanks so they know immediately when to taunt from the Unbalancing Strike. You can just focus the other tank, as I tend to do in some fights, and you see here I have crashed and focused. That's just another warning. You can look at his debuffs to see if Unbalancing Strike has gone up. But that's pretty much it. Obviously range, need to avoid the lightning charges. Tanks can do so as well if they rotate around and stay spread out. And that's pretty much the whole fight. Thanks for watching.